for this season. And I've said it before. But first, I'm going to start off with saying big shout out to everybody. Thank you for joining the Wolfpack Performance Podcast. We will be kind of briefly talking about some things and my opinions and thoughts about the Dutch GP, Max home GP, as a matter of fact, and he does not win it. And I do have some things to say about that, in my opinion, that I think were mishandled, that were not appropriate, and that seemed a bit skewed for this event. And I think it was done in order to prop up some things. But first, I want to make a correction. During finale lap yesterday, I don't know what happened with the board. Everything else was right besides for Mercedes, and I dismissed it because I assumed or thought maybe there were some penalties that kicked in and kicked Lewis and Russell to 13th, I think, and 14th. But indeed, went back, it was revamped, and it is 7th and 8th in here. It was always 7th and 8th, so I'll just say that right out of the gate. Still not something that we thought. Dave Quattro is first in the live chat. Oscar is second in the live chat. Who's going to be third? Who's going to get on podium for third in the live chat to enter? We will see. Big shout out and good morning to you all. So, don't know what happened with the board, but yes, 7th and 8th. And Mary Beanie is third in the live chat, completing the podium for people to get in here first. Dave first, Oscar second, Mary Beanie third. If you're not first, you're last. Big shout out to you all. So, yeah, it is corrected now. It is 7th and 8th. I don't know what happened, but that is what's going on. But let's talk about some bigger things that I want to talk about in regards to what happened yesterday, because I find these things consistently keep happening, and I'm trying to understand why they think it's okay to do it. Galactus, what's going on? Why do they think this is okay to do? So, first, let's go ahead and cover this document already. Lance Stroll gets a penalty, and rightfully so. Lance Stroll gets a penalty, rightfully so. It was for pit lane speeding, 65.7 kilometers, okay? That put him over, exceeded it by 5.7 kilometers. So we've seen, I'm saying right now that is definitely valid. We've seen Russell get penalized, I think, for a 0.1 kilometer or 0.3 kilometers over. Here it is, Lance Stroll, which we think is the weaker driver of Aston Martin, getting penalized for exceeding in pit lane by 5.7 kilometers right here. And that penalty breached Article 34.7, which we've already looked at that before. He gets a 5-second time penalty, is the decision for that. I'm not going to say that this breach of an article is any less than any other breach, but I do think that it is not as damning to other drivers. I do think it's not as damning to the race, but it is a safety issue to come in there speeding above what they've mandated to be safe and for that area, because things can happen. People can walk out. Maybe you can't slow down enough in time. I get it. So, yes, Lance Stroll penalized for that 5-second time penalty. With that 5-second time penalty, it puts Lance Stroll in 13th. And then I think probably on the finalization of that finishing which, you know what, let's bring that up. Let's go based off that. Let's go based off the final position of where everybody, basically the provisional race classification. Let's just go based on that, and we will see where Lance Stroll ends up on that matter. So if we go based on the final race classification, Lance Stroll, as you see right there, is going to be classified as finishing right there, 13th. And you'll see down here, Lando first, overall fastest lap as well, and then fastest eligible for points. And then you see down here, you will see the 5-second time penalty, Stewart's decision right here for number 51, car 18. Okay, so that was done, and that is there. So I'm totally cool with that. Like I say, I think that is fair. I think that you can not put a price on safety, but that's not the only thing that should have been looked into, right? That's not the only thing that should have been looked into. So we got the Lance Stroll situation. Cool, okay? Here it comes. We also have a very, listen, this weekend was a horrible weekend for Williams. It was a horrible weekend for Williams. By the way, we will be here live tonight for F1 Minute, okay? We're going to be live tonight for F1 Minute. The show link is already up. It's a show where you get to call in, Give your opinion. Tell us how you feel about the weekend for the GP. Tell us what you felt about your team, your driver. You will be able to call in live, talk live. You don't have to necessarily be on camera if you don't want to. You can take your camera picture down, but you can come and speak your truth or your opinion tonight for F1 Minute, okay? So be here live for that. The show link's already up. Set your reminders, set your notifications. Don't miss it, okay? But like I was saying, Williams had absolutely a horrible weekend, okay? We already had Logan Sargent do his thing. What did Logan Sargent do? Logan Sargent did what Logan Sargent does, okay? Logan Sargent decided to just wreck up a Williams. It caught on fire, and it was a very horrible situation. And I think, and this is going to be one of the topics for tonight, I think Williams should have let Logan Sargent go a long time ago. They should have let Logan Sargent go during the summer break. Matter of fact, I wouldn't have been mad had they gave him an Uber ride home after the Miami GP. Listen, bro, you got your home GP. Very big shout out to all the love in the chat. Thank you for all the love in the chat. You got your home GP, Logan. I think this is where we're going to stop. I think you need to go ahead, go home, figure out what you're going to do next. And I think Williams should have brought in Felipe Drugovich or Mick Schumacher. And as a matter of fact, it's been a report that Toto Wolff is pushing for Mick Schumacher to have been given the opportunity at Williams. Toto, this is not your team. You need to figure out what you're going to do. Okay, Williams is not your team. That is James Vowles' team. Mick Schumacher is in your garage. Why didn't you give him a shot? If you want Mick to have a shot, why are you looking at Antonelli? Why don't you just give Mick Schumacher a shot next to Russell if you feel like he deserves a shot? Don't try to go and push your driver into Williams when they got Carlos Sainz inbound. I think that we can all agree that Carlos Sainz is a better driver as it sits with a body of work for us to review than Mick Schumacher. I'm not saying Mick doesn't deserve another chance, because I'd like to see him get another chance, because Haas was utterly a dumpster fire. Okay, so I don't think that Mick should be out, but I do say this, Toto, if you feel that passionate about Mick Schumacher having another opportunity, he's in your garage. He's been damn sim driving for you. Why don't you put him in the seat? Well, let Russell be your number one. Let Mick be your number two. Bring Antonelli in to be your reserve driver. And if things don't go right, Mick is back to reserve. Antonelli is in. No harm, no foul. It's all in Mercedes. But don't come out here trying to tell other teams that you demand that they should give Mick Schumacher a driving seat in their car when they're trying to win, okay? They don't want something else that might be another guest project. Carlos Sainz is not a guest project. Carlos Sainz is proven. Carlos Sainz is kind of debatably the better driver in Ferrari, although people say Leclerc has a higher ceiling. Let Mick drive in the Mercedes then. Let him drive there. But yes, it was horrible for Williams. So we'll look at this. Williams penalized time and time over, not only for Logan Sargent crashing out, but also for Alex Albon. In qualifying session, the floor body found to lie outside the regulatory volume. Okay, so Williams here is being penalized. Breach of Article 3.5.1 alpha in the technical regulations, is disqualified from the qualifying session, which definitely hurts Williams because they need to qualify as good as they can to try to hold on to as much as they can. The representatives comes in, they measure the car, it doesn't work out. The floor body was found to lie outside the regulatory volume mentioned in Article 3.5.1 alpha. The team did not dispute the calibration, so evidently Williams is like, there's no sense for us even trying to go into that. It obviously is correct. We were wrong, and so the decision for that for the session was car 23 is disqualified from qualifying. All other cars move up in qualification. Okay, classification. So listen, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that penalty. We already know, I think we had a situation back at Coda some time ago. Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc, disqualified after a pretty good race due to plank wear. And I kind of think that was a bit edgy and gray, but hey, numbers are numbers, standards are standards. It happened. It was below wear. My Mercedes should have been more responsible on making sure the driver had a good car and checked the plate, because they already know COTA could be one of those circuits. So I'm cool with that. I'm understanding that. And I'm also cool with this one. It's not in spec. And if it's out of spec, if Red Bull were found to be out of spec, I'd be calling for Red Bull to be on the chopping block and to be penalized as so in accordance. So I'm not going to change my energy here with Williams, because it is what it is. You're not getting around that. You shouldn't get around that. So then let's look at something else, because we already know, as it's set, Mercedes, I don't think finished. And we're going to talk about all these topics. We're going to talk about these topics on F1 Minute. I'm telling you how I feel about these situations. Appreciate all the love in the live stream. I'm telling you how I feel about these situations. I think F1 Minute is for you to tell me how you feel about these situations. I'm letting you know how I feel about them right now. So going on to something else, Lewis Hamilton, as you see right there, is also another driver who was penalized in such a way that definitely damned his race start and probably handicapped his race finishing. But I do think Lewis did a phenomenal job trying to manage what he had. We already know, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Lewis ended up starting 15th because of his grid penalty. I think he classified 12. He was out in Q2 and then dropped 3 grid place penalties, which we can just go to the document and look at that, and we'll see how that goes. So as it sits right here, Mercedes also having a situation there, and Lewis Hamilton, car 44 right here, qualifying, unnecessarily impeding car 11, which is Sergio Perez. And this one, I do have a problem with. Okay? He has dropped 3 grid place positions, which there it goes. I think he dropped from 12th to 15th, which already qualifying was a little rough for Mercedes because I think they had the wrong setup for Lewis. And I think they might have had split setups. I'm not sure. I think they might have had split setups. A little bit less downforce for George, more downforce for Lewis. They locked into that. This is not the first time we've seen that this season. And at this point in time, I give some credit of the misstep to Lewis and his side of the garage. We've heard this a bit more this season than ever about the setups being split, even Lewis taking credit to him deciding to go a different direction and it completely didn't work at one race. And now here it is again. I think split setups didn't work so well, but it is oddly funny. People would say, and people like to try to boast up that Russell was a better driver. Russell did finish 7th, but also Russell supposedly had the better setup. Lewis Hamilton started 15th. He made his way all the way up into the top 10 just behind Russell. So this whole narrative that people try to spin that Russell is just this phenomenal driver way above and beyond Lewis Hamilton is a bunch of crap. It's not real. It's not true. It's not even something that's debatable at this point in time. I'm not saying Russell's a bad driver. I think Russell's a good driver. Russell's not a champion. I don't see him being a champion just yet. But Russell is a good driver. Russell is coming forward with some very good performances, and I just wish he would stop crying so much. I wish he would do that. But right here, we'll see. Stewards heard from driver car 11 and the driver 44, all right? Driver car 44, being on an end lap, was informed that the team car 11 was approaching on a fast lap when he entered turn 8. He then drove off the line. He did, okay? Lewis Hamilton, I don't know where else he could have gone. I don't know where else Lewis could have gone as far left as he could besides into the grass. Okay, so this is why I wouldn't have a problem with this penalty if watching the playback, I could have seen Lewis do something different as where he was positioned on the track, but I couldn't. And it's crazy. This is where things start getting stupid to me. They start getting stupid and they just get worse when we look at something else. Okay, so enter turn 8, he drove off the line. So they're saying that Lewis Hamilton drove off the line. Turn 8 with the intention to give way to car 11. However, car 11 arrived. Car 44 had entered turn 9 and drove back towards the racing line at the exit of turn 9, thereby clearly impeding car 11. If you go back and watch the playback, it doesn't look as egregious as they're making it seem here. It really doesn't. It really, really doesn't. So I'm looking, okay, all right, it's cool. Stewards determined that whilst there has been appropriate warning by the team, and albeit the driver tried to move out of the way, he could have slowed down more in order not to impede the other car. Therefore, considering the impeding to be unnecessary in the sense of the regulations. Okay. While the driver did everything he possibly could have done there, besides come to a halting stop, we still are going to penalize him 3 grid place positions. 3 grid place positions. 3? That's crazy. 3 positions for something you clearly can prove he did everything he could, moved off the line. He did slow down because he was obviously moving slower. I saw this. Warned by the team, we're still going to give Lewis Hamilton 3 grid place positions. I would be okay with this if Lewis had some other space to go. I'd be okay with this if Lewis could have slowed down in anything else besides a complete stop, stalling the car. I'm just saying, all of these penalties, from Lance Stroll to Alex Albon to Lewis Hamilton, I'd be okay with it. Lewis Hamilton's penalty, I'm a bit kind of disturbed by the amount, the strictness, the harshness of the penalty. 3 grid place positions. I think that was a bit stern. Maybe 1, maybe, but 3 for something that you clearly outlined in this document, saying that he did move off the racing line, he did do what he could, but whilst, okay, but this is my problem. This is my problem, y'all. This is where my problem comes in. And just excuse me, but why was this driver not penalized? Max Verstappen. For all the shenanigans and BS that he was doing in the pit lane exit, here breaking across the white line, which is clearly against the race director's notes, and potentially causing a collision. There is no document of review. There is no investigation. There is no document that we could see, no further action. They just completely dismissed Max Verstappen's breaking the race director's notes, okay? Because it's clearly in there. It's clearly in there right here. Max Verstappen, again, doing foolish things. And guess what, people? This is not the first time. This is not the first time Max Verstappen has done this. He's done this multiple times. Here it is, race director's notes. Lines at pit entry and pit exit. You are not supposed to cross those lines. I clearly just showed you a video of Max Verstappen crossing those lines. And my problem here is, how many times are they going to let Max get away with this? Because they've let Max get away with it several times already. Max has done this several times already, and he's gotten away with it. Has he not? Yes, he has. Max has done it several times, and he's gotten away with it. And why do I say this? Because it's true. Because it is absolutely true. And honestly, I got to say, when is enough going to be enough? When is enough going to be enough? Max should have received warnings for this at this point in time that it definitely should not be okay. Why do I say this? Because he's impeded before in pit lane. Do y'all not remember this? That's Max Verstappen holding everybody up while there is a green light on pit lane exit. Max trying to gain an unfair advantage, holding everybody else up, and he should have been penalized there. But they didn't do it. They didn't do it. That was in Singapore. Here it is again, Max Verstappen impeding in pit lane while it's green. He's going to drive ultimately slow as he wants to drive, trying to again gain an unfair advantage, holding everybody else up in the pit lane. Guess what? That's Max Verstappen again doing it. And that was in Mexico. And here it is, Max Verstappen still up to his shenanigans, driving crazy in pit lane exit, getting around the Mercedes. Here it is, trying to get around the Alpine, being reckless, doing what Max does. They changed the rule for Max Verstappen in this sense, and now Max has abused it so much to the point that they retracted the luxury that they afforded Max to do this at a portion through the season. They retracted it because it was unsafe. Why? Because Max Verstappen was being unsafe. Mary Beanie says, Because of Albon disqualified, Lewis started P14. Awesome. Still, grid place drop 3 was crazy. So, yes, Max having this situation. Then, what do we have go on here? Here it is right here, folks. Max being so reckless in pit lane exit again, this cameraman had to jump out of the way. Where was Max going to go around right here? The Mercedes is right there. The cameraman literally had to jump out of the way because he felt he was going to get hit by a Formula One car driven by Max. Here's Max again, being reckless in pit lane exit on a wet day, driving in the grass and could have spun out. That's crazy. But still, no penalty, no investigation, no reprimand, no 5-second penalty, no points off his license, no grid place drop for Max Verstappen at his home GP. Why? I have to ask you, why is this? You want to know why it is? It's because they do what they do several times by cuddling and protecting their golden boy. Max Verstappen is a spoiled child who has gotten away with way too much and does the shenanigans because he feels there will be no punishment for his actions. And guess what? Therefore, and thus, he is correct because there has been no penalty for Max Verstappen's actions. Because FIA either issue Max a penalty that doesn't matter and won't affect him, or they don't issue him a penalty at all. This is Max Verstappen. This is who he is. Driving people off track, breaking race director's notes, going and causing Lando Norris. Do we not remember what happened with Lando where he damn near caught? This is impeding right here. That's impeding. Lando Norris had to damn near drive on the grass. And I'm not sure if Max Verstappen had received a penalty for that. This is way out of hand, folks. It's way out of hand. Way out of hand. We do recall this too, right? We do recall that, right? Max Verstappen just doing what he keeps on doing. He's going to keep doing it until they penalize him. And they're not penalizing. They're not penalizing. Matter of fact, was this not Max right here driving, walking across track while we watched Lewis Hamilton get a penalty for unsafe conditions walking on track? This is Max Verstappen walking on the track when he clearly could go to the side wall where the marshals are and exit safely. But here it is again. Max Verstappen is not penalized at his home GP. And you want to know why? Let me tell you why, folks. This is part of the reason why I think this is the case. Because they probably thought Max Verstappen was going to come back and win this race. They probably said, listen, what an awesome place. What an awesome place for Max Verstappen to get back on track, to start winning again at his home GP in front of the Orange Army. The lion, the Dutch lion is going to roar. We don't want to disturb that. Don't penalize Max. It's not going to help him. Don't penalize him because he should have been penalized either by seconds or either by grid place. It should have been penalized. All these other drivers got penalties. There are several other penalties out here except for Max, obviously breaking the white line, which he's not supposed to, but not being penalized. And what happens? All the help in the world that they wanted to give Max Verstappen still couldn't get him a race win because he got gapped by 22.8 seconds. Does that look familiar to anybody? That used to be Max, Super Max, Super Max, right? Used to be. Red Bull got gapped. Max Verstappen got gapped. Passed, out-strategized by the pit stop, and then gapped by 22.8 seconds. McLaren is on a roll. Maximum idiot. Maximum idiot. And Max is going to continue to be an idiot until they finally do something about it. And guess what? I don't think they're going to try to do anything about it because just like they've been helping Max, just like they've been penalizing Max without real penalty, they want to try to help Max at least win this fourth. But guess what? McLaren might have something to say about that. McLaren just might have something to say about that. Don't forget, Lando, while gapping Max, and I'm going to say it, gapping Max, gapping. I want all the Max fans to come in. Gap, 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 gapping Max. Gapping Max by a long shot. Gap, 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 gapping Max. Gap the hell out of Max. Gapping him. 22.8 seconds. That ain't enough gapping by Max Verstappen. I don't know what's happening. But yes, McLaren might have something to say about Max even meeting Red Bull's most winning in season with Sebastian Vettel at 4 back-to-back. Max might be halted at 4. There's a possibility Max might not get 4. We're talking about 22.8 seconds, people. When Max was gapping people like that, nobody else was winning races. If this is the trajectory that will still be realized by McLaren with the Mercedes power unit, and Max also already showing that there are races where he hasn't been on podium at all. He hasn't finished some races. He has not won some races. If this happens to continue to keep going, could we see the biggest overcome in Formula One history and world driving champion in Lando Norris in a McLaren? K5 Witters, Whiteverson, how you doing? Big shout out, your first super chat. Congratulations, you just got entered. We are having a competition where people can win these. If Walter Shavers does not hit me up via DM or via the Discord to give me his shipping address and information for this, we will spin for it again come up this Sunday. So I'm just saying, I'm putting it out there again. I don't reach out to y'all. Reach out to me. I got a lot of other shit I'm doing. Reach out to me. Give me your shipping information. Give me your email for the tracking. Give me your phone number for the shipper to contact you in case things go wrong. If I don't get that communication, I will spin the wheel again for somebody else to get a Gem Mint 10 Lewis Hamilton Topps Chrome slab. I'm just telling you what's going to happen. If I don't hear from you, Walter, by Saturday, next Sunday, I'm spinning that wheel. Somebody's going to have the opportunity to get it. I really hope you do reach out to me. So yeah, so we will see. What do we got? What did Mary Beanie say? K5, congratulations, Mary Beanie. What did she say? Orange Army was very quiet. Yeah, they surely were quiet, Mary. They was quiet. Oh, because of Albon disqualified, Lewis started P4. I got that. All right, good shit. All right, I don't see that she said anything out of pocket right there, but all right, I'll keep an eye on it. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But right now, yeah, it ain't looking good for Max. It's not looking good at all for Max. So I'm just letting you know. Big shout out Galactus in the live chat trying to keep things in order. All right, listen, people, have fun. Okay, have fun. Listen, I know people got nicknames for Lewis. People got nicknames for Princess George. That, you know, people, those are okay. Okay. Lulu, okay, do what you want to do. But when you start getting to derogatory names like Maxi Pad, like that's like, even I'm not a Max fan, but Maxi Pad is a bit derogatory. It's referring to Max as being a tampon or a feminine item used to catch menstrual blood, and that might be a bit far, okay, calling him Maxi Pad. I won't even call him that. I'll call him Crash Strapping. That's cool. I'll call him Mad Max. That's even cool. That's in the realms. But some things you don't want to call somebody that you don't personally know because you might be going too far. So, you know, you don't hear me up here calling drivers bitches or anything like that. You don't hear me saying that. You definitely not going to hear me using the N-word. I hate it. And I've seen other people use the N-word in regards to Lewis Hamilton, and that's not going to be accepted. But yeah, have some fun. Drivers have nicknames. Crash T-Fee, that's a nickname. We all got some nicknames that are okay, but when they get to the point where we're using derogatory names, that's when it gets out of hand. And, calling Lewis Hamilton Lulu, I don't even like that because Lulu was a female character, and that's even derogatory. So I don't even like Lulu, honestly. That's even a bit much for me, okay? Because that, to me, is kind of like, okay, that's a female character if you're not familiar with the Lulu cartoon, old cartoon. Yeah, so even to me, that, I don't even like it. So just be mindful. Even if you want to call Russell a crybaby, Max a crybaby, that's cool. But when we start getting to calling men outside of what they identify as, and just like you, let's not do that. Crash strapping, Max crashes people. Mad Max, he Mad Max on track. Lance Stroll, do we not remember when Max called Lance Stroll a mongrel, basically calling him retarded? That was disrespectful all get out. I don't even call Lance Stroll that. He a bad driver. He not a good driver at all. But I don't call him that. So I'm just saying I'm gonna have fun and do what I do, but some of the things we shouldn't call other drivers that you don't personally know. So yeah, if you call Maxi Pad in the live chat, Galactus is going to be on it only because we want to try to uphold a certain level of respect for all drivers, even if they aren't your favorite driver, right? Nicknames are cool to a certain point. So let's not just go over that point. If you found a nickname that you would call a driver and you thought to yourself it would be offensive to you, I would say don't use it. Don't use it. That's what I would say. Don't use it. So just consider that. I see Mary. You don't have to leave, Mary. I mean, just using that. But anything else, Galactus should be okay. So if we're talking about Crash Strapping, Mad Max, we're talking about Crash TV. We talking about names like that. Galactus, don't delete those. That's fine. That's cool. But when we start getting into derogatory terms or terms that could, conflict with somebody, the way somebody identifies, then that's when Galactus is going to be on it. So just be aware of that, chat. So other than that, listen, I mean, he does a phenomenal job at that. Galactus is only trying to uphold the standards and the quality of the live chat, and also try to at least uphold an environment that will be inviting for other people who favor other drivers to come into and have a conversation. Because some people that just adore Lewis Hamilton, you might find it disrespectful. You might not want to be here. Some people that adore Charles or Max, we want it to be an environment where all people that support different drivers can come and say their opinions, even be debating or confrontational to a degree, but let's not use derogatory terms for other drivers, especially drivers you don't personally know. I might call a driver a jackass. Yeah, because they might be being a jackass. That's even okay. You call them a jackass, that's cool. Like, hey, that was a jackass move. That was, that was dumb, stupid, what the hell? But let's try to watch. Let's have fun, but let's have fun without being ultimately disrespectful. I know I could get pretty elaborate up here, and that's fine and cool, because, I mean, I'm going to try to keep it within bounds. But we do want all people that support different teams and different drivers to feel welcomed and have fun using some nicknames for drivers, but don't go overboard to where it gets derogatory or ultimately disrespectful to a point where it's just crazy, all right? So anyway, like I said, Mad Max is being aided again by the FIA. I felt like Max should have had a penalty for that. I do not understand why they didn't issue Max a penalty, aside from the point that Max is going to be protected and Max is going to be coddled, because Max is very emotional, and I think mentally Max is not a strong person, all right? So we will see what goes on from there. Hopefully Williams will get back on it. And there was just a bad weekend for Williams. They had a bad weekend. They just ultimately, Logan Sargent didn't help. The disqualification for Albon certainly didn't help, but I would also like to point out, I would like also to point out that Alex Albon still, while receiving that penalty, Alex did finish 14th, being disqualified, and I still think that's a pretty good drive for Albon given the situation and the circumstances. And the lack of fairness across the grid, where we saw other drivers being penalized from Lewis Hamilton from impeding where he ultimately did the best that he could do in that situation, from Alex Albon with the floor, which is totally understandable because regulations and numbers and measurements matter, to Lance Stroll speeding in the pit lane entry is all understandable. What's not understandable is why Max is breaking the rules several times and therefore not being penalized after he's done this several times. So it's just crazy how this is happening still, but they're going to try to aid Max as much as they can. This was his home GP. I'm pretty sure. I think this would have been 200 race or something like that, race wins or something to some degree. I forget what it would have been. I think it was some type of stat or some type of stat or accomplishment Max would have gained by winning another race here and at his home GP. And I think they unfairly did things. I don't think they did things correct. Max should have been penalized and therefore should have received seconds or should have received a grid. I think he should have received a grid place penalty for that, because I just showed you several instances where Max has done this and they have not penalized him yet for this same exact thing, for breaking the white lane and breaking the white line and pit lane exit, or being very reckless in pit lane exit. When's enough going to be enough? I don't know. But it would have been crazy. That's what Dave Quattro, that's what it would have been. 200 race starts. I knew it was 200 something. 200 race starts on pole position or something like that. That's what it would have been. So yeah, he got that, but it would have been that in combination with him winning, and that didn't happen. They should have penalized him, because without a penalty, he still got beat. I mean, Max Verstappen got demolished. That's what you call a taste of your own medicine. 22.8 seconds. I can only imagine the conversation that took place and how much crying Max probably did behind closed doors. I'm just telling you. So with that being said, listen, we will be here tonight. We will be here tonight. We will be talking about these topics. I want to hear what you have to say about these topics. F1 Minute, the link, the show is already up. Get in there, set your notifications. A live call-in link will be set and posted before the show. You will be able to click that link, come in the studio. You will be able to do a call-in, and you will be able to say what you have to say. All right? That's what the part of F1 Minute is all about, including you into the content creation process, okay? So with that being said, I am Wolfpack. That is what happened. It was a pretty good race, although not the best race. We will have another giveaway coming soon, so stay tuned for that. I am out. Peace and love. I'm out. Wolfpack.